Hi, we are here with Mr. Atul Kumar Saxena. He is also the president of our Chamber of Imports in India. Sir, your first thoughts about Vietnam and business in Vietnam?
See, I have been there present from 1984. So I have a 360 degrees experience in Vietnam when it was under the US sanctions, then it opened. Then the government opened by the policy known as Doi Moi, which is openness. So I have seen the country grow from a country which was closed to an open economy. Today Vietnam is a large economy today, growing at a very high speed, especially in contrast to other Asian countries. And today they have increasing FDI year by year. And the environment is very good for investments and as well as doing business there.
On the part of importers from India, what is that one thing which you are looking from Vietnam which will further give them a single point business?
See, our chamber is known as Indian Importers Chamber of Commerce and Industry, which is the only chamber in India for imports. We have many chambers and associations for exports. So we specialize in finding out countries' exports and obviously imports into India. Vietnam offers today a vast basket of exports. Initially it was agriculture products like cassia is one of the spices which was imported from
Vietnam. That is
Vietnam.
Cinnamon.
It's not cinnamon, it's cassia. Cinnamon and cassia are totally different.
Okay.
But cassia is similar to cinnamon. Besides that, there were other agriculture communities which were coming. But today it's offering a lot of finished products. Like we have very good baggage companies there, garment companies there. We have tiles, importing tiles. Many of them importing tiles, ceramic tiles from Vietnam. Earlier they were doing from China, but because China has anti-dumping duty in India, so they were doing that. Now they are doing from Vietnam. So step by step, many value-added products are adding into this basket. Especially their food sector has very vibrant, and they are going in for a lot of value addition in the food sector, means food processing industry. Like they have processed coffee now. Earlier they were just exporting coffee like we do. But today there are a lot of Vietnamese companies, and Chung Ying is one of the very big companies which are into big way into coffee value-added exports. So they're moving into a sector which is into value addition, and we see a big scope in India for these products.
So you think Look East Act is going to help us a lot?
See, Look East and Act East policy, which is basically primary brainchild of our Ministry of External Affairs, MEA. So the reason for Look East is that we have to look after our eastern side. Especially ASEAN is one of the major players in this Look East policy. We do have relations from the east till the end till Japan, but ASEAN is one of the most focused area. And yes, the government of India is trying its best to be part of ASEAN trade, and we are into ASEAN +3 dialogue, ASEAN +7. So that's a very big initiative, and we hope that the governments in India would always try to increase business through ASEAN and especially Vietnam.
Do you think in the future there will be some competition between SAARC countries and ASEAN countries?
No, both are different countries in characteristics. Like what Vietnam has, neighboring SAARC countries don't have. Like let's say coffee. Coffee, neither Bangladesh grows, Nepal grows, Bhutan grows, Afghanistan, Pakistan, they don't grow coffee, for example. So coffee itself will be a big item for India to import. So there is no competition. There is rather a complementariness in the countries of SAARC and ASEAN.
There will be a major competition specifically in the textile region with Bangladesh and Sri Lanka. What is your thoughts about it, sir?
See, Bangladesh has emerged as the second largest exporter of garments today. And that has helped them to move from a status of LDC, least developed country, to developed country just a year back. And the industry is growing very fast. Earlier, imports of garments from Bangladesh was nil because we had CVD. But after GST, CVD has been removed. And last year itself, means closing of 31st March means recently, the imports have been $200 million. But India is a huge market, so these things don't matter to Indian market because India is a growing purchasing power and a growing market. So not much of a change will take place.
In commodities, price is a major factor. How do you see an impact on Chinese prices and Vietnamese prices on Indian importers?
See, a lot of Chinese products have come under anti-dumping duty. Like I just told you the case of tiles. So tiles have come under anti-dumping duty, steel. And toys also now, which are a big import, are coming step by step into restrictive category. So these products, Chinese products, imports into India, will scale down of non-useful products, means not essential products. And other countries like Vietnam, Bangladesh will obviously take that vacuum.
How about pharmaceuticals? Vietnam once had banned 39 companies of pharmaceutical, and it affected the imports of the pharmaceuticals from India to Vietnam.
See, as you might be aware that I was the person who took pharmaceuticals into Vietnam. I took Ranbaxy, for example. It's way back in 1988 subsequently I worked with Elder Pharmaceutical Himalayas. I worked with one of the best companies as their consultant and importer both. And I just said in my talk also that 30 pharmaceutical companies I had taken to Vietnam. Now, what happened was, which as an Indian I shouldn't say, means companies which didn't have a factory also started exporting to Vietnam on loan license, third-party manufacturing, etc. And they were doing just for profit, not for ethics. Healthcare is an ethical, industry where the health and the life of a person is very essential. So you cannot play with it. So that's the reason that Indian companies are banned. But if you know the actual story, there were not only Indian companies. There were companies from 6 countries, which was one of them was India. So obviously there were more Indian companies there because more than 300 companies had gone into Vietnam. As I know myself, there were so many companies which were just on paper, but they were getting made those drugs from small companies somewhere in Parmanu or Baddi or Noida, and all this is known to me because this is still my main business into Vietnam. So I was very happy rather that this filtration took place. And I was a person who worked with MOH, Ministry of Health, in Vietnamese they say Boite, the translation. And to regulate the import of medicines into Vietnam, and we then way back formulated the registration procedure. Earlier there was no registration procedure in Vietnam. Today it's very strict. To register a drug, you have to spend a lot of money and prepare a lot of documents, which has filtered out a lot of Indian companies, Bangladeshi companies, Pakistani companies, many companies from countries which were just selling their own profit.
And how do you see the future of imports?
The future is very bright of imports into India. But we are the chamber today is specifically working with Indian companies for investment into Vietnam. Vietnam is a beautiful destination for investment, and there is total transparency in the system. And the government is stable, first of all. Every investor wants a stable government. Currency is stable. One dong is still 20 to 21,000 for last, I think, 10 years now. And the infrastructure is excellent, especially their export processing and industrial zones. There are 250 industrial zones, and which are divided into 3 parts: the northern industrial zone, the southern, the central, and Mekong Delta industrial zone, which are excellent infrastructure. You don't find a piece of paper on the road. Forget about any industrial waste or effluent. They have effluent treatment plants. It's excellent. It's like a tourist destination. Rather, I tell my Indian companies to visit, at least visit some zone and see.
The new government is going. India is under election. Soon we'll see a new government. What do you expect from the new government, whichever comes, for Vietnam?
You see, India is having a steel structure bureaucracy. So governments come and go, but our steel structure remains the same. Our policies usually don't change from country to country. Only a slight changes might take place in the superpowers like we call China, America, US. But other countries, the policy remains. So I've been seeing this for last 3 decades, the change of many governments coming in India. So there has been no change. The MEA and other policy makers in the government, they are permanent. Politicians will come and go, 5 years, 3 years, 2 years, but our structure is very great. The bureaucracy is very strong and policies are permanent.
And the last question, sir, expectations from the new government on the import policy.
See, expectation from the new government is that we have to be with the flow as international countries are moving. So openness and reduction of tariff barriers is very important and will take place whoever comes to power. So we don't expect any major changes in the government. Lastly, I would like to say that I got this Ho Chi Minh award from the Ho Chi Minh government, the government of Ho Chi Minh city.
Okay.
Yeah, so you.
The Ho Chi Minh
city government here.
City government.
City Ho Chi Minh government here. So you.
We will.
Okay.
Thank you very much.